Hello, 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 all you Google whisperers and wannabe Google whisperers. So yep, I'm going to get right to it. I have had some awesome results over the last 6 months for one of my dental clinics, and this is a case study of exactly what kind of results we saw and what's been working, what I've been seeing and testing and figuring out in 2018 and definitely in the beginning of 2019 as well. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So first of all, like I said, in just these were the months that I put together for these, but just the two of them, 150 calls and form submissions purely from organic. And you got to think, their average ticket is a couple thousand. So that's nothing small, right? That's tremendous of just regular and consistent leads coming into the website purely from organic. From last year, they've been in business now for 5 years, but the practice has been around for, I think, a decade and a half. But either way, just from last year, we're talking 50% of their phone number calls going up from last year each month, and 50% increase in form of submissions as well. And so that's just with 6 months. We're planning on being together for a long time. So as you can see by the chart, it's not slowing down anytime soon. And in fact, it's increasing, I wouldn't say exponentially, but very consistently, as you can see by the trajectory. And just from the last 6 months, just picture this, 4,300 new website visitors. That's insane, right? So you got to think, what have we been doing that's right? And so I have 4 core things that I want to go over of why I think this has been so successful. And as a caveat, understand that a new business is not going to be able to do this, at least not organically, without spending a lot of money. We do not spend a lot of money on this. Their campaign, I'm not going to disclose how much it costs, but it's not a lot of money. So you do need to have that authority, and you do need to be an established business with established credibility. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but the first method is just, content is king, right? Has been thrown around for such a long time, but I took a very different approach to this. And so, first of all, the website needs to have, and this is the client's website, as you can see, the website needs to be segmented based on each and every individual service. If you sell products, same thing for the product types and categories. And you need to get very granular about everything that you do. Start out by mapping every core service with some sub-services. And there should be related pages for each of these. All right, so that's the first step. You need to get your site architecture on point, and they need to have useful and targeted pages for each and every service. So if we just start looking through some of the service pages, right, we have sleep apnea treatment, and then specifically or appliances. And you can see how we have information that a user would really want to know, right? How do they work? What are the benefits? What are the side effects? Can it really help me? Which is right for me, with some descriptions of which ones we have, exactly the specific types that we have. Do you see how specific and pertinent this information is to what a user would actually need who has this ailment? And you really need to focus on not writing for SEO, right? We all used to RankBrain, and we're all used to machine learning and basically understanding that search engines understand the semantic relationships between content and not just the old school method of putting keywords in and thinking that'll help, because it might even help temporarily. But as I'll get to later, it's not a good engagement metric typically, because people will be bouncing, people won't like it, they won't stay around very long, and Google will figure that out. So it needs to actually be helpful and relevant. So I took the approach of actually putting myself in the exact position through just different kinds of research and actually asking the doctors, what do their patients want to know? What are the common things? And then I built this out for all of these services and sub-services. So that was step 1. And then as far as just the on-page things, have an H1, right? Have some imagery to capture attention with an image alt, make your subheadings relevant, and put some H2 tags on there. If you have sub-content within those, make it an H3. Have a good compelling title tag that gets a user to understand that this page is relevant to their needs and gets them to click, right? You can look up all those on-page elements if you want. I suggest Neil Patel has a great on-page SEO guide. Moz has a great on-page SEO guide. Backlinko by Brian Dean has a great on-page SEO guide. So I'm not going to go over that, but just know you have to have the basics in a way that the crawlers can understand as well. And then, as I said before, the layout, right? People have to read this. So make it compelling. Break up your content into logical sentences. Use bullet points because Google loves structured things, right? JSON LD schema has become huge in the last couple of years, right? Why? They like structured things. And make it actually useful to your readers and in a way that they can consume. And then make it easy for them to get in touch with you, right? Easily navigable. It looks good on a mobile and desktop version of the site, and it is actually useful content. So the best way to think about this is actually when you're creating content, think about what's the purpose. Who's going to use this? Who's going to consume it? What version or what style or what format do they need it in? And how's it going to make their life easier, right? Make them experience something awesome or reduce a pain. So that's the first thing that we did. And we just took a while to build out all of this content. We thought through common questions that the patients would have. We asked the doctors. We did query research from Search Console, right, to look what historically people are using to find the site. So that was step one. Step two is that reputation. It's not just the sort of thing for larger brands like Coca-Cola, REI, right? Reputation and credibility are actually becoming core parts of Google's algorithm. So mid to late last year, Google came out with their EAT. It was a major core update. And really, they just wanted to focus in on the quality that brands are putting out and the authority that they're carrying with them. So the EAT stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And there's several ways to go about doing this, but here are a few that we did. The first was we targeted high authority medical publications. We targeted colleges with dental departments that the doctor had been a part of. We targeted dentistry blogs and thought leaders in the dentistry marketing space even. And we just reached out to them and we said, hey, we've been doing this for a while now and we know what we're doing. Can we provide you with something valuable and have you give us a shout out? So guest blogging has been around for a long time, right? All of you know what backlinks are. And if you don't, just do a Google search, right? Look for backlinks, why they're important, and how they signal to Google about what your site's about and about if you're an authoritative company. But the difference is we didn't focus on quantity like so many of you might have, or that I see all the time, right? We didn't go into any directories or social media comments or forum posts and all these different things. We only targeted high authority. I'm talking DAs of 40, domain authority of 40, who actually get website traffic every month because we got referral traffic from these too, which is another authority metric. And with real editors, okay, real people that own these entities. And we produced incredibly high quality and useful content for them that gave us a shout out. That was key. We did it with the actual doctor as the author too, just to build that authority. Another thing that's really important is on the actual about page. If you don't have an about page, you need one. This needs to actually speak to what your person is about. So this has all the history of the doctor and where they went to school, their credentials. It's got outbound links to all of the different entities that they belong to, right? Everything about this page, their podcast interviews, everything about this is to establish that authority. And what Google wants is that if you're putting out information, especially if you're familiar with the medic update that people are deeming it, or the punishment, if you will, but we saw some boosts from it. They want to make sure that if you're putting information about people's health and well-being, especially that it's authoritative, that people can trust it. And so if any point of authority that you have, you need to include on that about page, and you need to link out to it and get links back to it. Also, we just started doing basic outreach for key platforms, right? If we go to Google, we look at their business. This number when we started was about half. So we've been making sure that we do tons of outreach from happy and satisfied patients, and just asking them, hey, can you go leave us a review? On Facebook, on Google, and even on Yelp a few times. But hey, do that at your own risk. Go read Yelp's guidelines around reaching out. But we made sure that when people do a search for this company again, they see reputation, 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 credibility, credibility, credibility. It's just shoved down their throat at every point. So you need to make sure that you have your profiles, that they need to be well reviewed, they need to be busy, they need to have information on them. And last, this mostly goes for local businesses, the most, who have geographies that they serve, set geographies that they serve, but it can also work for national and international companies. But you need to have your business citations, these directory listings, right? If you're not local, it might be something like Angel's List or Crunchbase if you're a startup. But if you are a local business or you're dealing with local businesses, your Yelp, your Google, your Bing places, your Yellow Pages, your Angie's List, right? The list goes on, but these need to be 120% filled out. They need to have every bit of information possible about your service, about your product, about your company. It needs to be 100% the same. Because again, picture things from the eyes of Google. You're looking at a business, or you're thinking about returning a business for a result, and they have 3 different addresses and 10 different phone numbers and 8 different names and 20 different descriptions of their business that all say different things. Is that consistency? No. I bet if we do look at Coca-Cola, REI, Taco Bell, their branding is on point. Why? They're established and trustworthy. And you need to do the same thing with your business, even if it's not local, and especially if it is local. So we just hammered down on those reputation and credibility metrics. Third, all about paid ads and SEO in tandem. So I actually started running paid ads about 6 months ago now. And we've been seeing some awesome things, and I've been using it in a few different ways. So first, like we say with the services, get granular about your ad campaigns and make sure they correspond to each service and each landing page. Yes, you do need to get granular. Those quality scores being high will drive down your costs per acquisition, and your users will just convert more, right? They'll be more satisfied. So that's the first step. Secondly, from a conceptual perspective, if you're not understanding that engagement metrics, right, time on page, bounce rate, click-through rate are going to be the major indication of your reliability and how Google judges you and other search engines, you're lying to yourself, because there are. So that initial boost, I call it jet fuel of engagement on those pages. We did the landing pages specifically on the website. It fuels that engagement. It shows Google that people are using the site. And because we can craft where people are landing in their experiences, they spent more time on the page. We internally linked to give them paths to learn more information about their ailments. All that site engagement is just a huge boost of credibility and telling Google that, hey, this is something really useful for your users. We also saw that we got a lot more granular data from the ads. Anybody who's run ads will know this. And so we connected our analytics with not only with Search Console, which you should all do, but with Google's ads. And we got some really interesting information about how people phrase needing their service. So TMJ dentist or TMJ disease, which weren't things we were initially optimizing for, but because we got such a good monetary return, we knew we needed to focus the organic on it as well. And so that sort of creates this really powerful feedback loop that you need to pay attention to. And we just did that. We looked at the data on paid and organic. We merged them as best as we could and in real time, month after month. And also, you want to rule the SERPs, right? If you do a lot of searches in the Houston area, we have many thousands of terms that we show up for, but you're going to see a lot of our paid and organic efforts in tandem. And then if you add in if you add in their knowledge graph, the company's knowledge graph, we're using the word domination. We're starting to show up for national searches. You can look for TMJ specialist and find them. That has thousands of views per month. So that's what you want to think about. How can I dominate my competition? Not just how can I compete, not how I can do the bare minimum, but what I need to do to dominate. And paid helps you do that in tandem with the search strategy, which is what we're talking through right now. And then while you're putting the organic together, right, developing this new content, posting it, while you're building out a strategy, while you're doing research, it just helps with the ROI. Paid ads are immediate. They're rocket fuel, right? So that's why it's good to do in tandem. If you picture it as a curve and you picture the x-axis is time and the y-axis is, your visibility or your dollars, you start putting a lot of money into ads and it immediately goes up, while SEO is having a pretty low visibility. But then as you start to increase, right, your visibility with ads and your SEO gets going, you can keep the ad dollars the same, or you could ramp it up, but you're not going to have to because of the SEO efforts over time, because it's just doing the work, right? And they're paying for my services, but it's a huge discrepancy from an ROI standpoint. So that's the third thing, right? We hammered down on paid ads and SEO in tandem. And last, some of you might be excellent at this, and some of you might be awful, so I'm saying it anyway. You need to test things. You need to track where things are coming from and why. I forget where the quote is from, but obviously you can't improve if you don't know what's working. You don't know what's even going wrong if you're not tracking things. You maybe just be stabbing blindly in the dark. So one of the big things we did is each month we'll take a look at all the pages and we'll go through it. And let's just take this for their oral appliance page, which you can just see the insane growth on, right, since we made it. And we'll take a look at the query data, and we'll say, look at these different impressions, which are trending high, and we'll go ahead and put the average position in there too, which has a lot of impressions with some opportunities in terms of position. And we'll go in, and from that data, we'll add a section to the content, or we'll reword the content, or in some of the indicators that a crawler might use to inform their ranking of your site, so like those heading tags or the title tag or the meta description, we'll add those in, and we'll see if the average position improves, the amount of impressions, the amount of clicks improves as well. And one thing that you want to aim for, if you're aiming for any sort of results out of a test, is improving your click-through rate. I can't stress this enough. If you can improve your click-through rate even by like 0.1%, you're going to see significant jumps in ranking, clicks, traffic, conversions, obviously, because you're more targeted to your audience. So we focused on updating those title tags each month that we could for each of those pages, and some of the on-page elements based on the query data that we were seeing instead of guessing. So what else? We also were just, like I said, tracking, right? And two of the metrics that we really were interested in was bounce rate, because engagement is important, and then the behavior flow in analytics. And we were really interested in people that specifically converted. So if you're not familiar with the behavior flow, it's just a cool overview of where people are starting out on your site, where they're exiting. There may be a path that they're taking that you're unfamiliar with that a ton of people seem to be going through, and you need to go and analyze that. It's not going to give you an immediate response of, here's exactly what's wrong and right and what you need to do about it. That's why you have to be a practitioner. That's why you have to test things. But this information is there for you to utilize. And then also, it's just super important that you know exactly like how much time people are spending on page, how often people are bouncing on each page. And then once you can take a look at each of those individual pages, you can start making those improvements that I just spoke about and testing it against itself each and every month. And if you can improve those engagement metrics like decreasing bounce rate, increasing time spent on site, increasing conversions for each page, you're going to be good to go. Also, just pay attention to your data. Make sure that you're looking at organic efforts when you're making organic changes and paid efforts when you're making changes to your paid ads. Make sure that you are filtering out your IP addresses and you're only filtering in data to your domain in Google Analytics so your data isn't skewed. And then you just have to test. You have to test and test and test again, because the incremental improvements that we made each month are compounding on each other now. And that's why you see such a high curve. Such a high curve for some of these efforts is because initially, right, you can see where we were making changes and then improving. And then after each improvement, it takes a while to figure out, right? We have to re-index things, but then it takes off right afterwards and we can know that what we're doing is working. So those are the major things that I'm seeing. Go rewatch this, go implement those changes. You need to put those strategies together for yourself as far as your specific industry, but also if you don't feel like doing that or you don't know how, contact me. I love talking about this stuff, obviously. This is what I do for a living. It's my passion. So get in touch with me for a free strategy session. You can go to the URL below and we can definitely help your business generate more traffic and more leads just like this if you're not able to do it yourself. All right, everybody. Till next time, take care.